Hey, do you want to come over and make a pot of tea, bring your favorite crystals? We could talk about our birth charts, spirits, the latest house spells we've been doing. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm that witch next door. Hello, neighbor. Welcome back to another episode of That Witch Podcast. If this is your very first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you're joining us on such a special day. My name's Danny. I'm That Witch Next Door. I'll be your host, your guide, your mentor, spiritual bestie in all things modern witchcraft, cosmic living. Today, I have a very favorite guest around here, but certainly not her first time, nor her last time being here. The wonderful, beautiful Mary Muse is with us today. Hello, darling.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Any of our newbies, because it's been like a year. Isn't that crazy, by the way?
Probably, yeah.
It's been like almost a year or something since we were on here. I think the last one was when we talked about art magic. I'm almost positive that was our last That Witch Podcast episode. Tell us a little bit about who you are in our neighborhood, what you do, what's your big three?
Okay, so I'm Mary Muse. I am the tarot teacher for That Witch School. I do a monthly tarot circle with the members in That Witch School. Have been for over a year now. We got to our year anniversary of that back in April, which is very exciting. And I have recently started calling myself a chaos witch. So I am a chaos witch. It just makes sense. And I do a lot of art. I do a lot of art magic, a lot of glamour magic. I'm a musician. Music is a big part of my magic that I work. And I recently started a new podcast this year called Musings with Mary, where I've been talking about all kinds of different things. But one of the things I've been shifting into this year is doing more activism and working on just being more confident in speaking to the ethics of our world in relation to spirituality.
Oh, I love it. And share with us in your beautiful pink pixie hair, what are your big three?
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like they're
Gemini
so
sun.
Embodied by you.
I know. I almost wore my Pisces necklace. I just got a new Pisces necklace, but I am a Gemini sun, an Aquarius moon, and Pisces rising.
So fitting. So fitting. Mary and I started working officially together back at the very beginning of 2022. We reached out to me right at the very end of 2021, but we officially began our work and our mentorship together through my Think and Grow Witch program that I was hosting.
Oh my God.
And so much has blossomed between us since then. So much. And not long after we started working together, I officially opened the doors to That Witch School. You were absolutely one of the very first inside there. We had this intimate group of us that started That Witch School that tons of us are still in. Major shout out to our OGs, by the way, because it's so cool. It's so cool. And eventually this turned into, the more That Witch School went on, I always wanted it to be this, we just talked about this for Mary's podcast, actually. I always wanted it to be this sacred, lucrative launch pad where people got inspired and could start their own dreams, careers, things that they want to try for the first time. And so not only is this a place where I encourage people to do like a lot of networking or practice if they want to do practice readings. I've had people do like practice subscription boxes and send like samples of services and stuff like that. As your path was continuing to unfold, you are more and more called to bringing this teacher aspect of yourself into yourself, the part of your life as a tarot reader. And the school has been this perfect, wonderful place for bringing those roads together for yourself. And I think what kind of started out as like, like this good thing for you to do, like to come host a monthly tarot circle for us has just really developed into this way bigger and even more sacred department. Honestly, now we have this whole entire department within the school now. And this led us, over this last year to talking more and more about like our ideas, the dreams and the places that we want the school to eventually open up to. Sorry if anybody can hear my jingly little pup next to me. She's making some cozy spot in her bed for herself. And so in that, recently, I think it was around end of springtime, Mary invited me to join a virtual tarot conference or a virtual tarot summit with her. And this has sparked so much for both of us. We both attended over the summer solstice. So before we get into the actual summit itself, I cannot wait to share this experience with all of you. Mary, will you first let us know how you found the tarot diagnosis, Shannon Knight, the host of it, and how you came across the summit itself?
Yeah, I wish there was a better story behind how I specifically found them, but it was fed to me. It was fed to me on Instagram, and I kept getting it. It kept coming up in my stories, how they put little ads in there. And I kept seeing this tarot summit. And I was like, well, that sounds really cool, but like, I don't know. And I would like scroll by it. But now, as you were saying, like I'm specifically getting more serious about like what tarot education means to me and what I want to pursue with that. I just started doing tarot tutoring for members of that witch school. And it's just this new route that I'm exploring in my life. And I'm very excited to like become more comprehensive in my approach to teaching the tarot. So eventually, after like, I think a week or two of seeing little ads here and there pop up on my Instagram feed, I was like, okay, let's just look at it. And so I went in, I looked at it. I did see, I think what really caught me, it's funny, I actually don't listen to, or I hadn't listened to the podcast that they have, the tarot diagnosis, before this. But I saw the description of this summit event, and they very much advertised it as like for therapists by therapists, like talking about tarot, but through this lens of therapy, and with these people that have these degrees in psychology. And as a person who is so very interested in psychology, I was very intrigued. And personally, like someday, if I have the funds and the time, I would go back and get a degree so that I become a specific, like an actual counselor. But I do know that like as tarot readers, we are doing a lot of similar things that you would do in therapy, but it's self-therapy, right? We're leading people to find their own ways to heal themselves and to do self-healing. And so the more tools that I can have in my toolbox to help people to recognize their shadows and to, express their joy and their gratitude in life, the better. So I eventually was like, I'm not a therapist, but it's okay. I'm gonna go to this thing because I know that I can gain a lot from it. And after reading through all of the titles of all of the workshops, because there's like 15 workshops in this one weekend. I saw that there were a few that had astrology kind of like weaved into them. And I was like, I think Danny would really enjoy these. So that's whenever I had a moment where I was like, it would be really fun to like do it together so that we can share in this and like maybe get some ideas for the school together. So I was like, I'm just gonna mention it to her and see if she wants to come with me.
And I'm so glad that you did. Your timing was so divine, because this concept of a virtual, spiritual, witchy summit was something that was simmering for me anyways. So if you've never heard of the term summit before, you haven't attended one before, essentially, so these can be in person. They're usually more referred to as a convention when they are in person, or even a conference. Summits tend to be virtual more and more, especially post pandemic. They were in existence before that, but I think we saw a big surge in trends for them post pandemic for that very reason, for that virtual reason. It's this way of expanding on your business, your reach, so many things. All from the comfort of your home, both as a space holder or workshop teacher, or as a consumer, an attendee attending the conference or the summit. Now, I've attended a couple of summits, but they have always come to me through the entrepreneurial world. They came to me through the coaching world, or they came to me through the business education world. And they were centered around, how to grow your online membership, marketing, graphic design, and branding. So essentially, you can buy a single ticket. Sometimes they're free summits too, but essentially you obtain a single ticket, and it gets you access to this big variety of workshops or speeches hosted by different experts or hosts. These, just to get really businessy on everybody, these are really, really lucrative and valuable events to hold and be a part of, because they are win situations for everybody involved. So for a paid summit like we went to, for example, you're usually paying a significantly lower ticket price to get access to this huge bundle of workshops or events or speeches that normally, individually, could be anywhere from $50 to $100+ per workshop or per class or per speech. Typically you pay, I think we paid $144 and for one ticket, and you got, just like you said, Mary, 15 workshops. So number one, value-wise as the consumer, right off of the bat, you're getting these high value, high quality workshops and education points for a significantly lower ticket. This benefits the hosts and the workshop holders because they are now part of a group and a team, kind of like at the round table, and everybody is promoting this event on all of their different platforms. So you just quintupled or more your reach right there, because you have so many more voices talking about this event that you're going to do. So all these people kind of come together as hosts and space holders, and we all increase our reach for each other, essentially. So your email list usually grows massively. Your follower list usually grows massively when you're a part of a summit. And eventually, you also usually increase your bookings or whatever you're selling, kind of a thing, because of that reach getting so big. So again, it is this win situation for everybody. There's a reason why it's been on my radar. I had never personally attended a spiritual or witchy one, and it was something I was thinking about. And so when Mary brought this virtual tarot conference to me, as soon as I pulled up just the names of the workshops alone, I was okay, first of all, again, just as a consumer, yes, count me in. All of these sound fascinating. I can't wait to do this. But also as a space holder myself, I was I'm really intrigued by seeing how this is ran. And it became very clear very quickly that Shannon Knight of the Tarot Diagnosis, the main host of this tarot conference and summit, very aligned ethically and values-wise with us in that witch school. So this is somebody I was excited to learn from, because they are very concerned with inclusivity, accessibility for everybody. And again, that high value for what you're getting and you're investing your time into. So this is definitely something that's inspired quite a lot, but I want to give everybody a little bit of insight into what it was actually like, and hopefully open more and more people up to kind of keeping their eyes peeled for things like this, or dare I say, organizing and hosting your own, my friend. You can visualize yourself there too. There were so many people in this conference that it was some people, it wasn't their first conference ever, but for a lot of people, it was their first tarot specific. But there were brand new presenters who were like, this is my very first time. I just want you to know that, like, from a consumer standpoint, it looked like, wow, this big grand thing. But I promise you, there were some very humble folks who were asked to be a part of it because they're very skilled and very talented. And you, my friend, can be a person like that as well. So I want everyone to know that. So Mary, you start out here by telling us what were some of the workshops that you were the most looking forward to, and what were some that you ended up realizing, oh, I really like this. I wasn't necessarily expecting it.
Right. So, man, so I'm looking at the list of all of the titles of these workshops, because so many of them, whenever I was reading through them, I was like, wow, that sounds cool. Oh my God, wait, that sounds cool. And every single one of them is so intriguing to me, for sure. I would say what I was most excited about, I love color magic. So there was one about color psychology. I was really, really excited to learn more about that, since I am a person that does a lot of art magic, and glamour magic goes along with that too. I'm always wearing colorful makeup and stuff like that, dyeing my hair pink. So the colors I was very excited about. I just re-listened to a couple of these yesterday to refresh my mind. And one that really resonated with me a lot, which I really want to look into more, was the parts, symbols, and self workshop, which was based on a specific type of therapy, which I wrote down. I think it was internal family systems. So this is an aspect of where you're learning about the parts, your inner parts of yourself, which is something that we do in witchcraft a lot, which is very alongside this particular type of psychology. Very interesting. And let's see. They had one on the Hanged Man, or the Hanged One, which I really love. Hanged One is one of my favorite cards for sure. I was very excited about that one. There was one about poems, which I was really interested in. Trickle Down Tarot was probably my favorite one that they did, which is it took the imagery of the tarot and talked about the symbolism within the imagery, not just within the specific cards, but in connection to other cards. So it was about making connections within sets of numbers across the cards, which is something, if you're in that witch school, is something that I've mentioned in different groups. It's something that my teacher taught me, and it's I'm so fascinated with the relationships between these cards. So that was my favorite one, I would have to say. It was the very last one. It was very, very good. So cool.
That one was definitely a sleeper, and I think we were intrigued by it, and then all of us, every single attendee, I think was oh, cool. But then when we were in it, everyone was lit the fuck up and was this is amazing, blowing our mind. Essentially, the Trickle Down Tarot workshop was about, there is a way that you can lay out the major arcana, and this is explored in a couple of different textbooks about tarot as well. This teacher also incorporated this vertical approach versus a horizontal approach, and looking in that horizontal linear type of way. And this trickle down came from, yes, you lay out these cards in these horizontal rows, but how they connect vertically, trickling down, cards you never, ever, ever thought about connecting with each other, connected with each other. And in ways that it made so many people be like, what is this witchcraft?
Literally. It was so cool.
Yeah, that one was special in such an unexpected way. The poetry one really was this revival for me. So in college, my favorite class I ever took was this creative writing class. And it's really because of the professor and the way she ran and approached creative writing. And there was something about the instructor of that workshop as well, that she had the ability to like awaken that inner artist and like wordsmith in me the way that old college professor was able to. And it was, I mean, just even looking at the instructors by like their title and area of expertise and what they were going to teach about that day was incredible how diverse and creative these different subjects were, things you never would have thought to teach a whole entire workshop on, but so beautifully connected all through the common thread of tarot. So amazing.
It was so cool also to know that like not every single person that presented was a therapist, but a majority of them were. And they're, can you imagine, like, they're therapists that are incorporating tarot in their sessions with their clients. And some of them talked about like how they do that. I think it was the parts and symbols workshop, and where they talked about like, yeah, we'll start with like angel cards because that's easy for people. And then we'll maybe get into oracle, and then we'll switch into tarot eventually once they feel comfortable. And they talked a lot about like breaking the stigma with people that aren't necessarily witches, and really trying to like bring this into the mainstream, because we know, like all of us there know, that tarot is such a valuable tool for healing and for getting to know yourself. And I think the parts workshop, that I really enjoyed that one, because that is like already, I mean, most of these workshops actually, while they were talking about these things, it was just incredibly validating for me as a tarot practitioner, because it was like, wow, I'm actually like doing a lot of these things in my tarot practice. And now I know that like this has foundations in psychology, and like this makes sense, that this makes so much sense for me to do like intuitively. And now I have like this idea that, okay, like it really does create new neurological pathways whenever I'm doing these types of things, even down to, you know, using the tarot cards as archetypes, and, you know, incorporating them as like guides within your spiritual process. That parts presentation that they did talked about, it was like 3 roles that your like inner self has, or your internal family systems has, which was managers, firefighters, and exiles. And it was like talking about these parts that are inside of you that are here to protect you. It's like talking about, it's almost like aspects of the shadow self is what it felt like whenever they were talking about that.
I agree.
I was like, whoa, yeah, it blew my mind when they were talking about this, because I was like, oh, okay. So when I pick a certain tarot card, like if I'm looking, I have this card in front of me. So I have like the 5 of Swords right here. If I'm looking at this card and I'm thinking about, okay, what is this person in this 5 of Swords like here to do for me? What part of myself is this representing? Is it here to protect me from something? That, you know, it was really cool to look at it in that lens and see like what, like it's almost like personifying the tarot in certain ways, which is something that I love to do. And yeah, so there were so many moments during that weekend where I was like, oh my God, like I feel so validated right now.
It was the like best refresher of how you approach tarot ever, because you get into your routine. There's nothing wrong with your tarot routine. And in fact, a lot of us are like trying to build that, you know, and try and build some consistency and some regularity in your tarot routine, especially if you are trying to memorize the card meanings, or you're trying to develop a more regular, frequent practice. And at the same time, you do start getting into a little bit of a rut and you do start approaching it with the same eyes. I always use the analogy of opening the refrigerator when you're hungry. And you can open the refrigerator 5 times in a row, expecting to see something different. But, you're the same eyes are looking at it over and over again. And sometimes you need like somebody else to open it with you and like notice something a little bit different than you. And that's totally what this was a completely different way of approaching tarot. And I think that therapist aspect really resonated with both of us because we are such grounded spiritual witches. Like we both like really plant a foot in the earth realm in all of the magical and energetic workings that we do. And good quality licensed practitioners and counselors do the same thing. We tend to have this idea or this notion, and it's not super far off, don't get me wrong, that this is going to be outside of the realm of therapy, especially because when you start talking about spirituality, you can start talking about religion all of a sudden. And this can be an area that counselors and therapists have to find like these ethically neutral positions to take so that they can help their clients feel safe and feel comfortable and accepted and heard and validated, all of these things. So to see therapists not just talking about tarot, but giving us examples of how they utilize it in session, still from this beautifully ethically neutral place, was incredible. That alone was so inspiring to me because I was like, this is the fundamental difference between spirituality and religion or dogma. Like this spirituality really is open, really is ethically neutral, really can fit and morph and conform to what you need it to be, which is something that religion and dogma inherently by definition can't do. And so it was really, I think that I was looking forward to the decoding your dreams through tarot.
Yes.
I was already looking forward to it because I was like, oh, what a cool way to just bridge these two areas of work that I already love working in together. And it was such a simple framework, a few cards that you could pull based on 3 dream symbols from your dream.
Yeah.
And the amount of layers you're able to pull back on that dream and your subconscious language from that was mind-blowing to me. That was one of the ones that I was like, I was looking forward to it. But by the end of it, I was like, oh my God, I've never thought, because I journal my dreams. I've been journaling them for a while now, especially since we have our dream portal department in that witch school. I might ask some specific questions about a dream and pull some cards for it. This was different. This was pick 3 symbols from that dream, like the color of something, a person you dreamed about, right? And then pull a tarot card representing each of those. As simple as that might sound, it totally blew the top off for me. And I loved it.
Yeah, that one was really cool. Like all of these were just such like concise ways to make these kinds of things that we've been doing in our practice, like it just backed up a little bit by the understanding that like, this makes sense in psychology. Like this is not just us being spiritual hippy dippy. Like this actually can be studied in a lot of ways. And that was like the really cool thing for me was like how, well, I mean, my brand of witchcraft and spirituality that I follow has always been very psychology based. I mean, for me, like personally, I do feel like witchcraft is just a more fun way of learning and practicing psychology in a lot of ways. It's about like the study of changing your mind essentially, and using your mind to change the world outside of you. And it is so powerful to know that like there are therapists out there that see the connection between them, and that like it is, I don't know, there was one person that was literally there just to share some research that they had done on how tarot works, like why it works, how it works. And I was like, wow, like it was amazing to sit there and be included in that discussion and think like, damn, this is just so cool that we're living in a time where these things are starting to be taken seriously, because I think we very much, like you've talked about it on the podcast before, in that like science and spirituality do not have to be separated. They are two like on the same side, or sorry, two sides of one coin. There we go. That's the phrase. So this very much felt like that whole weekend was just people coming in with these different aspects of how tarot is not just, it doesn't have to just be this spiritual tool, that it can be something deeper. And like for me, as a person that really loves like every type of art, I am working right now on a couple different certifications for sound therapy and art therapy and stuff like that. So like knowing that a therapist can take a card and use it like a Rorschach test, like put it in front of someone and say, okay, like what comes up for you? And that's like, that is what we're doing as tarot readers a lot of the time too. Like I love to incorporate that kind of approach whenever I am reading or teaching tarot to people. Like when we will have our tarot study club inside of that witch school, like we'll just talk about like, what do you see in this card and what does it bring up for you? This is really about like, the intuition, I think, can be seen as the subconscious. It's just connecting to your subconscious, like energy that wants to come through to you. And I do kind of believe that the intuition lives in the subconscious, and that when we see this kind of imagery and we sit with it, it's our intuition that's coming through and telling me, oh, I see this certain aspect of this card and it reminds me of this and it makes me feel this way. And I feel this in my body at this time when I'm looking at this card. And then you go from there. And it has nothing to do actually with like the meaning of the card. That's like the cool part about tarot, I think, is that like the meanings serve their own purpose, but a lot of people that presented in this summit talked about how like, okay, that's just one aspect of this. Like the meanings in the guidebook are one aspect, but what we're working with mostly is like this subconscious connection. And I mean, even when we were talking about like the colors, when they were talking about color therapy and stuff within that, like there's just so many ways that we can take this and run with it and go in so many different directions. So
totally agree. There are a lot of tarot purists out there who can get a little bit, how do I want to say this? It's not that they want to discourage your intuition, but they also don't want to discourage like the system in which it was created and taking the process of learning the tarot seriously and respectfully, which I am in full support of. And what a lot of these therapists using tarot were posing was exactly what you're saying, that your subconscious understanding and vibe and the nudge and the pull that you would get also matters. Maybe it's not about one trumping over the other, but also matters and is part of the conversation, and it also needs to be taken into consideration. So what for you, like just to kind of like bring us home here, Mary, how did this inspire you for moving forward? What are some of the ways that after the conference, what are the things that you want to take forward and continue to grow from what we learned and what we experienced?
Well, it definitely has fueled that little spark of like, maybe I should go back to school. Maybe I should become a therapist. That has definitely been sparked within me. But as far as like, as a tarot practitioner, as a tarot teacher, oh my gosh, it sparked so much within me. And I think the biggest thing would have to be empowering people to use tarot in more creative ways, because I've said this, I think I said this in the school at some point in one of our workshops, but I think the coolest part about tarot is that like it is this kind of language. and it's got a lot of different dialects, we'll say. Okay, so one person might speak tarot in a certain dialect, and you may be speaking it in a different way, and it takes like time and patience to get to the point where you feel like fluent in your language of tarot, but it's really worth exploring that. And I think the way that we do explore that is by trusting our subconscious and our intuition and making connections with our cards, like in this parts and symbols a kind of way, thinking, I know that all of us that have been practicing tarot for a while understand that like we're going to have certain cards that represent certain people and certain events in our life. And I think that is actually very powerful. And even if you're a person that's reading for other people, the personal connections that you make with your tarot and the way that you can use the tarot to journey deeper into the self is like where the gold lies, where like the most deep and like important aspects of tarot are. Like the more that you can venture down into what tarot is for you, the better that you can share it with the people around you. So that's like what I'm hoping to instill in the people that I work with.
What a good answer. I love that so much. I completely agree. And I think that for me, seeing these practices legitimized and validated and given like legitimate space for and not so talked down on as like pseudoscience. I think if there's one like really, really big insult that's hard for me not to take personally, it's when people call astrology and tarot pseudosciences. And I think that comes from them being wielded and utilized maybe in a pseudoscience type way. But I think deeper than that, it's usually that the people who label them that are very just uneducated in it and don't know the purpose or the different ways that they can be utilized. And they only label them and think of them in the stigmatized ways that we're taught about them. And I think that was one of the biggest inspiring pieces for me was this is possible. This is possible that these practices and modalities are being seen as more and more valid, more and more legitimate, and taken more and more seriously in grown-up circles. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. Yeah, we sat in a room with a bunch of grown-ups and talked about tarot, and it was serious and cool. And
I totally agree. I could not agree more. So this is hopefully this is something that Mary and I intend on not being the last thing that we either attend, help be a part of, help create. These are conversations we absolutely want to continue having. Thanks for talking about and sharing the experience with me on here.
You're so welcome. It's so cool to like have professional development as a tarot reader. It feels so legit.
I know. I totally agree. Mary, before we jump off, will you let everybody know, please, where can we find you and follow you and support your work, my dear?
You can visit my website, musingswithmary.com, if you want to get connected with me. Musings with Mary is my Instagram handle as well. If you're in the school, you can message me anytime on That Witch School. If you have any tarot questions, I'm very, very happy to talk with you. If you are looking for some deeper study within your tarot practice, or if you are just wanting to get a little more one-on-one time with me, you can ask me about my tarot tutoring program. I am only offering it for That Witch School students at the moment. So y'all are special and I want to provide this for you. So don't be afraid. Reach out. I would love to talk to you about it.
Yay. And I have all that info, of course, in the show notes below. Definitely go listen to Mary's podcast. You will love it. And we are creating more and more magic together as the years continue unfolding. I'm so excited.
Yes.
Well, thank you, my dear. And thank you, neighbor, for your time today and every day. We are so incredibly grateful for your energy that you bring into our space. Well, my friends, until I see you next time, make sure that you are out there staying safe. Of course, please continue having fun and stay magical, my friends. what is That Witch School? That Witch School is my magical monthly membership that combines safe, welcoming, nurturing community with quality, ethical witchcraft and astrology education. This is like Patreon meets social media, but better. We have monthly calls hosted and guided by myself, as well as multiple instructors within our school. An incredibly beautiful and supportive community of like-minded witches, all built from the neighbors within our neighborhood right here. Plus, there is a just astounding library of resources and content that is always growing, and so much more. You can go back and listen to my episode on the podcast called Welcome to That Witch School 2025 for all kinds of details and information on the membership, the different plans you can subscribe for, pricing, and frequently asked questions, everything that you need to know. Or you can always send me a direct message or email if you ever have any questions. You can get my contact information in the show notes below. And when you're ready to join us, you can go to thatwitchschool.com and find the plan that works for you and join our magical community today.